So in this video, I'm going to share some things to know about Quartzsite, Arizona. We'll talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly about this popular desert snowbird destination. So some of the better things, the weather is warmer and drier than most of the U.S., north of the I-10. So that's obviously a big part of what brings people down here. It's also sunnier than a lot of the country during the winter, with some exceptions. There's an incredible amount of free camping or cheap camping in the Quartzsite area, which is really nice if you're looking to spend the winter somewhere and you don't want to be like in an RV park or something. There are many services and vendors that cater to RVers and van lifers in Quartzsite and the Quartzsite area, which is kind of nice. You can find a lot of RV stuff. You can get solar done. There's just a lot catering to RVers and van lifers. That includes lots of outdoor water kiosks where you can put some quarters in and fill up, and multiple places to get propane, that sort of thing. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of snowbirds and nomads in Quartzsite and the Quartzsite area during the winter. So if you want to socialize, there's plenty of people to connect with and be able to meet. And there also are a ton of events in Quartzsite each year for nomads, get-togethers, and different events and things of that nature. So there's a lot to do socially if you're into that. And finally, I can't forget to mention the sunsets, because the sunsets here are incredible. I will note, though, that the Dome Rock Mountains are in the way, so sometimes that makes a really cool sunset, but other times you don't get as much color as you would if you were over the hump and over in Ehrenberg, or if you were west of Yuma in California or something where it's just wide open. You get sometimes even better sunsets. All right, and then we'll move on to the list. Some of the maybe not so good things. These may vary depending on your perspective, but they're not going to be universally appreciated as positives in any case. Crowds and traffic. It's just, that can be nuts here. The Quartzsite has just a few thousand people year round. Parker has, I know the population of Parker north of here is like 3,000, but there are so many thousands of people here, hundreds of thousands of people, that the streets are clogged, the restaurants are clogged, the grocery stores are clogged, everything's jam-packed. Speaking of Parker, there are limited services in Quartzsite. There are a couple of small grocery stores. Is like a Dollar General and a Family Dollar, a few other things. There's a post office that's so crowded, I refuse to go there. But basically, there's just not a lot of services here. It's a small town with small town services, and prices tend to reflect that. Another consideration in Quartzsite, 14-day camping other than the LTVA. So if you're planning on spending the winter, that becomes a hassle. If you're coming through for a few weeks, a week or two, no problem. If you're planning on spending the winter, you got to bounce around, and you're back to that moving 25 miles after 14 days, being gone for a couple weeks before you can come back. The weather's not always nice, and that's one of the reasons I think a lot of people come here. A lot of people think that you come to Quartzsite, it's going to be 70 every day, and some days it is, and some days it's not. On a positive note concerning weather, though, I've never seen it snow here. Unlike Pahrump, which is 2,400 feet higher elevation than here, usually 5, 7, 10 degrees cooler than here, I have had it snow on me a couple times in Pahrump in the winter, which was actually kind of entertaining. Okay, another thing that kind of stinks about the Quartzsite area, before I came here, 7 years ago, I always pictured the desert as being all sand. And around this area, Quartzsite, Ehrenberg, even up in Pahrump, the desert is mostly rocks and sand. And so the soil, if you were to dig into it, the ground, if you were to dig into it, is a mix of rocks and sand. The sand erodes with wind and water, rain and stuff, and so then you end up with a lot of just rocks left. And it's not fun to walk on. You kind of end up stumbling around a lot because the ground is so uneven with all these rocks. And they also slice tires. I'm in my 7th year on the road now, and in that time I have had 3 flat tires, and all 3 of them have been in Quartzsite because a sharp rock sliced or punctured a tire. Okay, so nothing about Quartzsite. This is not really a bad thing or a good thing. It's just is a thing. The season's only about 3 months, in my opinion. Some people do stay longer. I know people who come way earlier, people who stay later in the spring. Usually, I don't get here until after the 1st of December, and I'm out of here by the 1st of March. Oftentimes, late February, if not mid-February, because it's just too hot. Other than that, for me. Now, some people, like if you like it hotter, not a problem. But if you don't like roasting in your vehicle under a desert sun when it's hot, you're probably looking at a 3-month season. Another thing to know about Quartzsite concerns privacy, solitude, noise, that sort of stuff. It can be difficult, though not impossible, to find quiet, private, isolated camping here. This is especially true if you want or need cell coverage, decent cell coverage. You head out and way out from town, and you definitely can find some more quiet, isolated, remote places, but you're going to have little to no cell coverage. If you need it for work like I do, that's not an option. So you got to stick to places that are closer. I did find a place that's pretty remote this year again. There are a few people have come in around me that were not here a few weeks ago when I got here. Hopefully it doesn't get any more crowded than it is right now. I'll have to go find somewhere else, but that can be a challenge. It's possible, but challenging. And I mentioned cell coverage. Cell data here in Quartzsite is usually sluggish at best. We went through a couple weeks before Christmas, when mid-December, where Verizon was literally almost completely unusable. AT&T wasn't much better. It got better again. There were some rumors that they had a problem with the tower. They were working on it. So right before Christmas, it did get better, and it's been functional and fairly stable since then. It's not amazing, but it's been okay since then. But a lot of times, especially in January when it's peak, all the internet here is really, really slow. If you need or want decent cell data, Quartzsite's a challenge. Anyway, these are some of the things, good, bad, ugly, or otherwise, that are helpful to know about Quartzsite before your first visit, I think. There are things that I would have liked to know about Quartzsite before I came down here for the first time. A lot of times when I see people talking about Quartzsite, whether blog posts, videos, whatever, not always, but a lot of times it kind of falls into the Quartzsite's the best place ever, you should definitely come here, or into the Quartzsite is terrible, don't ever come here. I don't think either one of those extremes is necessarily accurate or helpful. So I'm trying to give you some balance here of the good and the bad, and some of the stuff that's kind of not really bad or good, but good to know anyways. Personally, full disclosure, I've never been a big fan of Quartzsite. I also know some people from Arizona, other parts of Arizona, and then you tell them you go into Quartzsite or Ehrenberg in the winter, they're like, why? So anyways, I'm not a big fan of Quartzsite, never have been. First few years I was on the road coming to the Southwest Desert in the winter, I only visited Quartzsite to go to the vendors and get something, or just to walk around and see what's going on, go to Silly Al's for a pizza or something. I usually camped elsewhere. What do you think about Quartzsite? Have you visited in winter? Let me know in the comments what your experiences are, what you like and don't like. And if you've not visited Quartzsite yet, but you're planning to, let me know in the comments what appeals to you or does not appeal to you from what you've heard about Quartzsite. Well, thanks for joining this video, everyone. We will catch you in the next one.